Okay, so I've introduced myself. I'm the pissed off paralegal, and a lot of it has to do with this Idaho 4 case. And my problem is I go on rabbit holes all the time, and now I'm going to share this with the people of the internet. Sorry, and you're welcome. Okay, but so like last night, for example, I went on a rabbit hole about Ethan. Okay, see, I can't even keep up. It was actually a rabbit hole about Brian Koberger's search for the K bar, which was on this chart they posted on Reddit, and it's wrong, okay? Because he did not search for K bars on the 15th, and they say they got it from Dateline, and we know if you're in as deep as I am, you know that the Dateline info was not all accurate. But I went to the court documents and I found, exactly what was going on. On the 15th, they say that he navigated to the page related to deletion of account activity, and they infer that he went to go delete his previous purchase. But then you have him, a few days later searching it. I don't know why he would do that, but I know by this date we were probably all searching it. If you were, like I say, I was in deep. I'm a day one. I remember the Reddit threads and I can't remember his name, but he was posting on Reddit. I remember the 4chan threads. I remember all of that. And the 4chan threads, they mentioned the K bar right here, right? And this is November 14th, 2022. So it's little rabbit holes like this I will go down. And today's rabbit hole actually sent me to the expert reports. And the reason I came on to the expert reports was because I saw a TikTok that said that alleges, right, that there was diluted blood found under a White Claw box. And so I searched and searched for the info. And I mean, this is really the best place to come to, or the defendant or the expert report, namely by Brent Turvey. I know a lot of people have their opinions on Turvey, but that's where I came to look. So what I did, and it sent me on another rabbit hole. I'm here searching diluted, okay? You see? And here's what, because I'm like, I want to find this White Claw box, but I see this is Nodell's scientific report, um, diluted. I was like, why not read about this dilution? Maybe something about the White Claw box will pop up. It starts talking about undiluted blood, and that is in between the second and the third stairway, which one would expect. If you're in as deep as we are, Brian Koberger went to the third floor, and his first two victims were Maddie and Kaylee. Went downstairs. The theory is he went after Ethan first, I guess, and chased Xana, because one would expect Ethan would probably get up and try to help, but Ethan never got out of bed. So, this blood, nothing to see here, folks. But when you keep going and you're reading about, and you get to the undiluted blood, right? I did take note of this. There is the footprint that was outside of Dylan Mortenson's bedroom. It was a latent footprint, and nothing came of it. It was mentioned in the probable cause affidavit, but it doesn't really fit into the puzzle any type of way in reality. So, other than to cause more doubt, in my opinion. So you keep going about diluted blood, and then they get to the second floor, and it's in multiple locations. And so I got gripped in by this, all right? So there were numerous areas of diluted blood stain that were documented, and as we know from broken plea, that's where the claim where the White Claw came, but There's also this ping pong table that was very dirty, and there were stains all over, and they really only tested stain 39, which was connected to Kaylee. So only her diluted blood was found there, and you're like, well, she was, you know, unalived on the third floor. How did her blood get on the second floor ping pong table? And that is a good question. I don't know how Brian Koberger would have gotten it there. But I do know that they said that there was other stains like here, and there was some on a potato chip bag that no one that did not get tested. So, and then as you go on, see it talks about the diluted splatter stains and the photographs of the surface of the potato chip bag. So it just wasn't documented, it wasn't tested by the initial responders. It goes on to discuss all this diluted blood on this half pony wall right here, the ping pong tables here, which you would expect that some would be like right in here if Xana was attacked outside the room. But why is it diluted blood? Why is it Maddie's? And then we'll get into it later, but Ethan's is out here too. Kaylee's is out here too. It it doesn't make sense. It may feel like there were multiple weapons. So I'm gonna just try to do this organically because the rabbit holes. Okay, so I'm like just reviewing Nodell's report continuously. This is the half wall, dripping diluted blood stains, assumingly Xanax, right? I took a break actually to go check the forensic documents to see what I could find, but I didn't really find anything quickly enough. So then Nodell goes on to do Xana's bedroom, and I scanned it, just about diluted, but you would expect a lot of blood and diluted blood to be in Xana's bedroom. The diluted blood, they say, comes from maybe, say there's mucus, like above Ethan there was some. Maybe he was coughing or spitting up blood, and that's why it's diluted. But I don't understand why there is diluted blood in the area near the ping pong table. And assuming they didn't say Xana was stabbed outside of the room, she died right at her door. So was she stabbed outside? Was the murderer slinging the knife around with diluted blood on it? Like, where did the diluted blood come from in that near that ping pong area, right? But as I'm reading this, I scroll down and scroll down, and see, this is what they're talking about. Ethan, there is diluted blood above his head, and that would make sense because if he's right there, I could see how that might happen. But some additional things that they pointed out was about, I had been looking up this in the last few days, and that was about footprints. Because I was like, oh, it's weird they didn't find any bloody footprints, right? The only one we know was the latent footprint that was cleaned up outside of Dylan Mortensen's door. But here we are. It looks like they did actually find footprints, and maybe multiple ones, because there's one pattern type here with the label and a logo and possible. What came of this? I don't know. And then an impression containing a small teardrop or an extra. Is that two different types of footwear? So, and whose footwear? Because again, these people were not out of bed. Only Xana, and Xana didn't have on shoes. She didn't have on clothes. So I scroll down, and another thing that ends up standing out. I remember this unknown male DNA B. But what I didn't know is that, or maybe I forgot, is that there was also A and C, but they only tested B. They did not test A and C, and B did not match any of the victims or Brian Koberger. And some people have said that it's old blood. I don't know how they would know that, but that's just what, people excuse away stuff that they can't explain if they want to stick to the original narrative. And that's one way to explain these blood samples away. But I'll never forget unknown male DNA B. All right, I kept going down, and we come back to the half pony, the wall, and they matched some of it to Ethan. All right, and this was undiluted blood from Ethan. So again, it begs the question, like, if he never left the room, how did his undiluted blood get out in this area of diluted blood everywhere? All right, and there's nothing from any of the other people in the blood. It's just Ethan's blood. So how could that happen if he died last? Right? And it says no other locations of Chapin's blood away from the location was found outside of the bedroom, other than this one undiluted, amongst all the other diluted blood. Matched Chapin and a second unknown minor contributor. Then Nodell talks about this single drop of blood identified as F on the west vertical edge of the ping pong table, right? And it doesn't look like it was tested. And he does mention that the expert, Paulette Sutton, claimed it was Xana's because she was injured in proximity to the table. But they can't determine when that drop got there, how it got there, and or that it was Xana's. All right. So it's not indicative that Xana was injured by the table. So then you're like, where did all this blood in this area come from, right? Because they can't say for sure that she was injured in proximity to that table. Otherwise, I'm glad saying there's no blood dripping from her, to the room. But I'm not gonna act like blood's always gonna be splurting out. It could be going through clothes or whatever before it starts dripping everywhere. But at the end, like towards the bottom here, this is when I was like, I've got to start this YouTube channel because he talks about, or Nodell, I don't know if it's a woman or a man, they talk about 3 stains that were on the half pony wall that were tested and reported to be a mixture of 2 people that match Goncalves and Mogan. That's 23, 26, 27. So that's, again, some of this diluted blood. The one on the table is just Goncalves. And now you have a mixture of diluted with Goncalves and Mogan. All right. And then the 39 that is just hers. It's again, you have a combination and you have just hers. And then I added a note. And then you had just Ethan's undiluted blood. So, do we really have the picture of how this actually went down? It doesn't feel like it at this point. I'm going to go ahead and end this because I've already been going on for 15 minutes, but I just want to thank you for going down the rabbit hole with me today. I will go over more documents, or I might even just keep reading this and give y'all more content on this in a day or two. But I've actually got to go do some of my own legal work tonight. Thank you, and tune in.